Okay. According to Russell W. Belk, shoes can be represented as an extension of your own being and can also act as a repository of memory and meaning in our lives. Now, today I brought in my track and field shoes, and the credibility I have for it is that I spent 4 years on my high school track and field team. And throughout those 4 years, I kind of just developed as a person and an athlete. And so for my speech, I'm going to talk about parts of the history of how shoes played an impact on the improvement and development of track and field as in the Olympics. And so the Olympics started out as a man-to-man sort of competition. And back in those days, Roman Greek life, you didn't really see women in the track and field. So men would basically train their bodies so much, and they would compete against each other to see who's the strongest, who's the fastest, who can jump the farthest. And so throughout this, athletes have been considering sort of what can help them to be faster, to be stronger. And one of the main things at track and field is they don't really use tools, or as we saw in the recent Olympics, they don't let you use steroids, anything to supplement yourself. It's more of seeing how you have trained yourself and how far you can progress. And so the shoes are a catalyst to improving yourself, and it helps to, what's the word for it? Dang, I just had it. It helps to grip the ground in a sense because of the spikes. And it would essentially help the runners or jumpers to run the fastest they could without worrying about the natural elements. And you can see this throughout the history of the shoes. So it started out with sandals, and they have these huge spikes where they'd be running on dirt tracks. Now, if you're just running barefoot on dirt tracks, you wouldn't really see how fast or far you could go. So they come up with inventions to improve how much you can run or compete without actually unevenly benefiting yourself against the other competitors. And as the shoes started developing and becoming more and more popular, we see different shoes and more specialization of the shoes. And I'm going to tie this into how I related to track and field. So my first year in track and field, it was a new experience, and we all needed to buy track and field shoes. And because I didn't know what I wanted to do at first, there are these generalized track and field shoes that can be used for any event, and it doesn't really have a specialization to it. So it's kind of like my new beginning with the shoes, and then shoes would represent me as a person. And that year I would be finding myself and how I would develop and what events I would actually want to do. And throughout this experience, I chose triple jump. And triple jump, it's not really the easiest thing to learn. It's very technical and is really heavy on the shins. So I decided to get triple jump shoes, which have extra padding on the back. And this doesn't really help me jump farther, rather than it helps me prevent injuries. And I got these shoes in my second year when I more specialized in it. And then these shoes have been used ever since those 3 years. And as I would be getting more and more involved and more dedicated, constantly I'd see the turf rubbing on the shoes, as you can see the blueness. And it sort of ingrained the memory of the shoes itself. until the last day I used it. And that was the day I was able to actually be the best I could and finally get my biggest PR, which was my goal. And I was able to jump 40 feet with it. And that was a big achievement for me because all my friends were kind of jumping above 40 feet. And I kind of felt like the lonesome self. And shoes are just the representation and the memory of what you've experienced, all the hardships and dedication you have put into the activity itself. And so shoes to me aren't just something you wear, but it represents what you have achieved and how you have worked up to your goal.